Jedi Survivor is going where Jedi Fallen Order couldn't when it comes to lightsabers. Did you know that Jedi Fallen Order was originally going to have 3 separate lightsaber stances? The single blade, double blade, and dual wield. Unfortunately, according to the developers, they ran out of time in development and therefore implemented the dual wield as a combo move instead. Luckily for us though, they made Jedi Survivor, which comes with 5 separate saber stances. But there's a catch. You can only equip 2 of them at any one time. You'll start the game with 3 lightsaber stances, being the single blade, double blade, and dual wield. And then as you progress, we'll also unlock the Crossguard and Blaster Stance. That said, having the ability to only equip 2 at a time, to me, is a bit of a bummer, because it means you'll have to more purposefully choose your gameplay style, similar to a Souls game, as opposed to, say, Ghost of Tsushima, where you get your 4 saber stances at any one time and switch between them to take down certain enemies. Today, I'm going to go through everything we know about each saber stance in Jedi Survivor, what you'll use them for, which will hopefully help you choose which ones you want to play with more. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Please subscribe. I'm making a lot of Star Wars Jedi Survivor content in the lead up to it coming out and after it's come out. I would love for you to be around for that. Subscribe, please. So first up, we have the single-bladed lightsaber stance. Now, Cal's skills have obviously evolved from the first game. We can already see that from the gameplay footage we've had. He's able to move and complete a series of flurries and attacks we didn't have access to in the first game. He seems to have really developed his skills, and the same goes for the single-bladed stance. The single blade is kind of like your entry-level gameplay style. Anyone's able to pick this up. It's not too fast, not too slow. It can be rewarding, but you can also be punished if you get your attack timing wrong. The idea of Jedi Survivor is to create Jedi 2.0, where Cal has obviously developed his skills. He's gone from being an inexperienced young Padawan to being a much more developed Jedi 5 years later. The single-bladed stance, as well as the double blade and dual wield, will be available right from the start of the game. You'll start the game with those. They're not doing one of those annoying resets in Jedi Survivor where for some reason the character's stripped of all their abilities. You'll have them all from the start, which is going to give you quite a lot of firepower right off the bat. The single blade stance is your all-rounder. It's got medium speed, medium power, medium range, allows you to throw your saber for a ranged attack, and also has a special ability, kind of like a strong thrusting attack, which can be used on single enemies to heavily drain their stamina or deal them damage if that's already depleted. This stance is better used one-on-one with certain enemies, but you'll also be able to use it against groups of enemies, but perhaps not as successful as the double-bladed stance. This one is heavily inspired by Darth Maul's saber style. It involves a lot of spinning and can be described as the crowd control saber stance. For example, if there's a group of battle droids or stormtroopers, you can easily bring this thing out and take them out quite swiftly. Even though you have twice the length with this saber stance, it's actually more suited for closer ranged combat, say if Cal finds himself in a crowd of enemies. However, it'll likely get you into a bit of trouble if you mistime your attacks, especially against faster enemies, because they'll be able to take advantage of its longer swings and take you out, and that'll be a problem. Now, the dual blade stance is where Jedi Survivor really sets itself apart from Jedi Fallen Order. Because this is a new stance, the developers wanted to make this a bit more technical and have more nuance to it. For example, you move a lot faster, you can deal a lot of damage, but you'll also take a lot more damage if you're not careful. This stance also seems to have the most amount of combos, some of which require timing and for you to actually pause in between attacks to then continue the combo. Also, something that makes this stance really unique, you can actually back out of an attack if you realize you've mistimed it. For example, if you start attacking an enemy and realize they're about to hit you, if your reflexes are fast enough, you can then cancel out and dodge out of that attack. This is the only stance you can do this in. All other stances, you're committed to the attack once you press the button, and if you mistimed it, it's your fault. If you like fast gameplay, relying on your reflexes, and being super aggressive, this is definitely the stance for you. The Crossguard Stance is the 4th lightsaber style in Jedi Survivor. This one deals the most damage, but will also leave you the most vulnerable to attack. Heavily inspired by Kylo Ren's lightsaber style, it involves long, heavy swings that deal the most damage, but are also extremely slow compared to other stances, especially the dual wield, and this stance also has the least amount of range. If you're trying to take down a big, heavy enemy, this is potentially the one you want to use, but don't mistime your attack because you will be severely punished for that, especially if you're playing on Jedi Grandmaster. No chance. I feel like people are going to do a whole run through of the game using only one stance, and that'll be a playstyle, and then potentially there's incentive to go back and play the game with each stance. But with this one, the developer wants the player to feel powerful, but also like they're taking a huge risk. I hope this stance also makes Cal a little angsty, get some of that teenage rage going, just like Kylo. Waiting in an elevator, destroy everything in sight. Why not? Never got the rank of Sith Lord, that's what happens to you. The blaster stance is possibly the most unconventional lightsaber style in Jedi Survivor. This one, I think, is inspired a bit by Luke Skywalker from Empire Strikes Back, where he's kind of moving between using the blaster and the lightsaber. We don't currently have any gameplay of what this looks like, but it's obviously a range stance, so you'll be able to attack enemies at close range using the saber, but then we'll be using the blaster to take out enemies from afar. It's funny because even the developers are saying this is frowned upon from a Jedi standpoint. We have, of course, Obi-Wan saying,
"So uncivilized."
But then again, Obi-Wan used a blaster in the Obi-Wan series. From a story standpoint, this saber stance makes total sense. It's a dark time, a desperate time, and Cal is trying to utilize all the tools he has at his disposal to survive. It's the name of the game, isn't it? Now, the developers have also described this stance as having a bit of a push-pull mechanic to it. They're saying it encourages you to use your saber in order to replenish your ammo and your gun. They're also adamant that this is a melee combat game. It's not suddenly become a sniping stormtroopers from a distance style game, and the blaster has been described like a melee gun. So even though you're shooting from long range, there's a limit to it. In some ways, it seems like using the lightsaber will actually charge the blaster, but that said, I don't think we're actually going to see any gameplay of this until the game releases. I feel like they're keeping this one under wraps, similar to what they did with the double-bladed lightsaber in Jedi Fallen Order, not actually revealing that until after the game had launched. Now, each of these stances actually comes with its own skill tree, which you'll develop and upgrade depending on which one you want to lean towards. So I think it's going to be quite important early on in your walkthrough, deciding which stances you want to lean towards and evolve. As you play through and level up, you'll be able to unlock new combo moves, attacks, and other unlockables to develop your playstyle and make you potentially the most brutal Jedi who ever lived. Dismemberment confirmed. Exciting stuff. The way the developers have put it, you're basically building your own version of Cal Kestis. You'll be leveling up which saber stances you like to suit your playstyle, and this will also tie in with the game's cosmetic customization. Apparently, you're going to be able to customize Cal with a lot more than just ponchos this time around. It seems like the game has quite a deep customization system, hopefully inspired by some of the mods we've seen around Jedi Fallen Order, and it's also clear the developers are taking heavy inspiration from the old Jedi games from the early 2000s, which also offered multiple saber stances. So, I'd love to know which saber stance you're going to use when you play Jedi Survivor. And also, if you'd like to learn about every single enemy that's in the game confirmed so far, watch this video here. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.